العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سيد خلق الله والمصطفى حبيبنا ورسولنا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه ومن سار على دربه أو استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين نسأله سبحانه أن يجعلنا منهم آمين. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these wonderful days to make us of those who benefit from our time in these days and use this time to its maximum potential, inshaAllah. Because these are days that require a lot of focus, and sometimes we allow for certain things in our lives to take away from our focus, and that's something that we really need to make sure is not happening. The concept of time in the eyes of the believer is something very valuable. The believer doesn't allow for time to just be wasted. And within the context of being addicted to social media, we can see how this can serve as a problem. With the believer, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should be doing it. And this is what Ramadan actually teaches us. Ramadan teaches me that just because I can eat doesn't mean I have to always be eating. Just because I have the desire to sleep, I have the desire to do certain things, doesn't mean that I'm actually going to do it. And it teaches me this idea of self-control. So already, with regard to the people who are always on social media, posting things, posting every single detail of their lives, this is an issue because it wastes time. And, not even going into, the other issues that have to do with social media, already we can see this as somewhat of a problem because this is a waste of time when it comes to sharing certain parts of your life and the many problems that can come with that too. I'm not even going into the issues of serving as a means towards jealousy for other people, or serving as a means towards exaggeration and a means towards satisfaction with regard to our activism because we can post and do things like that. Now, just to get into some specifics with regard to social media, especially with regard to the idea of giving da'wah on social media, I have 3 points. The first point is the idea that Islam doesn't want us to give in to our addictions. There's an article on CBS News, and the title of it is "How Real a Risk is Social Media Addiction?" And in it he says, there is an ever-increasing need to engage with the object of addiction. When you have an addiction, there's always an increasing need to engage with the object of addiction, and there is a bad feeling when you're not getting enough of it. This is why, social media could be so bad. What you need to ask yourself with regard to the idea of social media is it making you postpone certain tasks? Is it making you delay your responsibilities? Is it affecting your relationship with your family, with your spouse, with your brother, with your sister? Are you more likely to engage with people who are on social media rather than engage with people that are actually involved in your life? This is all a problem, and it needs to be solved. We need to make sure that we are giving the rights to the people around us and not trying to fix that public image that sometimes we worship. That's the first point. The second point is the idea of sincerity. There is a story with Umar radiallahu anhu where he was one day sitting down with the Sahaba and he mentioned the ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings the parable of a man who he has a garden full of beautiful things, and this is his only source of income, and then he grows up very old and his children are weak, and then one day a storm comes and it destroys the whole crop, and now there is no source of income anymore. So it's a beautiful parable, and it's very deep, too deep to discuss today. But Umar radiallahu anhu was sitting with the Sahaba and he said to them, "Who do you think this verse was sent upon?" And then the Sahaba said, "Allah wa Rasuluhu a'lam." Allah knows best. So Umar radiallahu anhu got really upset. He said, "Don't tell me Allahu a'lam. Tell me, do you know or you do not know? قُولُوا نَعْلَمْ أَوْ لَا نَعْلَمْ." SubhanAllah, and this is one point that I want to extract from here, is that Umar radiallahu anh, he was a murabbi, and he liked for people to be real. So sometimes I feel like because of our interaction with texts and our lack of interaction with people, we stop being real. And we need to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. And SubhanAllah, Ibn Abbas ended up saying, "Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I think I know what it means." And he says this is about a man who he grew up all his life acting a certain way, putting up a certain public image, and at the end of his life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a devil to him who exposed his true intentions, and he ended up being insincere, and he ended up being destined for hellfire. Wal-'iyadhu billah. So that the second point is sincerity. We need to make sure that our social media activism and everything that we do is not taking away from doing things for the sake of Allah. قُلْ أَيُّ شَيْءٍ أَكْبَرُ شَهَادَةً قُلِ اللَّهُ. Whose testimony is the greatest testimony? Allah says in the Quran, indeed Allah's testimony is the greatest. The third and final thing that I feel like is bad about social media is that it takes away from our substance. There is a difference between the knowledge of Islam and the thought of Islam, the ideas of Islam. And I feel like with social media, it's very easy to pass around knowledge, to pass around words, texts. However, if we really want to change people, we don't change people by text. We change people by interaction, and we change ourselves. When I say people, I mean ourselves first. We change ourselves and others through ideas and through interaction with the knowledge, not just speaking and regurgitating the knowledge. Just a few tips to help with this. Try to look for a friend, and it's very rare to find these days, but it's definitely worth looking for, which is finding a friend that can be straight up with you, that can tell you, honestly, I feel like you're going a little bit overboard and you're giving in a lot to the attention. And that's another problem with social media, is that you're more likely to say what will gain more attention, not say what needs to be said. SubhanAllah. So have that friend that's going to keep you in check. I think that tip will probably be enough. Also, change your relationship from something conceptual to something real when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Pray in the last third of the night, and use your time with your family, and recognize the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you, and try to contemplate the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Doing these things will help your sincerity and will make it easier for you to control yourself with things that have to do with getting attention from everybody else around you. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who hear what is said and follow the best of it. إنه ولي ذلك والقادر عليه وجزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك اللهم ونتوب إليك وجزاكم الله خير. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.